Good morning, everybody. Today we will discuss the disorders of basal ganglia. In the last class, we have seen these pathways, that is the direct pathway and the indirect pathway of the basal ganglia. And today we will see if there is any abnormality in any part of basal ganglia, how it manifests. First is basically whenever the disorders of basal ganglia, they are the hypokinesia type or the hyperkinesia type. There is no paralysis of the body. It is only the movements are decreased or the movements are increased if there is any lesion of basal ganglia. So first let us see the lesion of substantia nigra, and that too substantia nigra pars compacta. If there is lesion in if the dopaminergic neurons, they degenerate, or if about 60 to 80% of these dopaminergic neurons degenerate, they produce the disease called Parkinson's disease. Now, what happens in Parkinson's disease? It's a hypokinetic disorder, that is hypokinesia or akinesia occurs in Parkinson's disease. Now, what happens if, as we have seen in the last class, that these dopaminergic neurons, these nigrostriatal pathway, these are the dopaminergic neurons, and when this dopaminergic neurons, when they attach to D1 receptor, they cause stimulation. They are responsible for the stimulation of the direct pathway and inhibit the indirect pathway when they are combining with D2 type of receptors. Now, as I had told you, that if these neurons, 60 to 80% neurons in the substantia nigra pars compacta region, they are degenerated, they are absent or they are degenerated, then what will happen? The amount of the dopamine this striatal area will be reduced. Now, this less amount of dopamine is available to combine with the D1 receptors. Now, so what will happen? This direct pathway is, there will not be effect of dopamine on the direct pathway, only glutamine effect is there. So there will be less stimulation of these striatopalidal fibers, and less GABA will be secreted less GABA will be there in the globus pallidus internus area. Now, if less GABA is there, then what will happen? These pallidothalamic fibers, they will produce less GABA and less. So there will be these fibers will be producing GABA, and the thalamocortical fibers, they are inhibited. They are inhibited, and the effect of these thalamocortical fibers on the motor cortex will be less. So there will be less stimulation of the motor cortex if this dopaminergic stimulation is absent. Dopaminergic stimulation of the direct pathway is absent. Now, and the effect on, because of this less stimulation, and on the indirect pathway, how it works? These D2 receptors, they are inhibitory to indirect pathway. Now, if this D2 receptors are they are inhibited because of less stimulated, because of this less dopamine in the striatal region, what will happen? There will be inhibition of this indirect pathway will be more. Now, more inhibition of indirect pathway and it like more inhibitory stimulus to the cortex via indirect pathway, and the direct pathway also it is inhibiting the motor cortex. Now, basically, there will be less stimulation of motor cortex if there is in case of Parkinson's disease. Now, because of less stimulation of motor cortex, what will happen? There will be sluggishness of the movement. There will be decreased initiation of the slowness of the movement will be there, and these corticospinal tracts, they will be less stimulated, and there will be the slowness of the movements will be there, slow initiation of the movement will be there, and that is known as hypokinesia or akinesia. That is one feature of Parkinson's disease, that is hypokinesia or akinesia. Hypokinesia, and then later on when very less dopamine is secreted, it is converted on, it is replaced by akinesia also, that is to very almost nil movement, absent movement, motor movements are there in case of Parkinson's disease. The another feature of Parkinson's disease is rigidity. How this rigidity is produced? This, as these cortical, these thalamocortical fiber, they are not stimulating the motor cortex. What happens? The corticoreticular fibers, they are not stimulated. These corticoreticular fibers, they inhibit the reticulospinal fibers. Now, if this corticoreticular fibers, they are not inhibiting the reticular formation area, the inhibitory effect of reticular formation via reticulospinal fibers will be increased, and that leads to increased tone of the muscles. If there is increase, the tone of the both group, agonist as well as antagonist muscles, it is increased. When the tone of the muscles is increased, the movement around the joint, it is stiffness, and there is negligible amount of movement around any joint occurs. If we take the example of this elbow joint, the flexors, the tone of the flexors is increased, tone of these extensors are increased. So if I try to move my movement at my elbow joint, it will be difficult to move my elbow joint. The flexion and extension at the elbow joint are difficult, and this is known as rigidity because of increased tone of the muscles. Now, this rigidity, the type of rigidity is a lead pipe rigidity. It's a type, it is difficult to bend. It is difficult to bend a lead pipe. Similarly, the tone in case of Parkinson's disease, the tone of the muscles is agonist as well as the antagonist muscles is increased so much so that it becomes difficult to move the joint smoothly, and that is a rigidity occurs at various joints, this lead pipe rigidity. And if we passively try to move movement at the joint, it produces, there will be a movement, then again a free movement is there, and then again resistance is there. That is a cogwheel type of rigidity is observed in case if we try to perform the passive movements at the joints. Now, the third feature of this Parkinson's disease is tremors. Tremors, that is resting tremors. How these resting tremors are produced? As we know that there are some cholinergic neurons are also there in the striatal area. Now these cholinergic neurons, they, as I told you in the last class, they balance the effect of dopaminergic neurons. That is, the effect of dopaminergic neuron and that of cholinergic neuron is equal and opposite on both the pathways, that is direct pathway as well as the indirect pathway. Now, if this dopamine secretion is reduced in the striatal, it is reaching to the striatal area is reduced. Now, what will happen? The cholinergic effect, it will be unchecked. It will become unchecked by that of dopaminergic. The balance between the two will be disturbed, and the cholinergic acetylcholine effect will be more on these pathways. Now, there are some reverberating circuits. Reverberating circuits are also present in this whole of this striatal area basically. Now, what are these reverberating circuits? The they are moving in a circus form. Now, these reverberating circuits, they are controlled by this acetylcholine secretion. And the dopamine and acetylcholine combination, these reverberating circuits, they are controlled. Now, if there is decreased dopamine and there is unchecked effect of acetylcholine, these reverberating circuits, they overfire. Their effect is increased. And because of increased effect of these reverberating circuits, the tone of the muscles, basically what happens, the movement of various joints, it is not controlled, it is uncontrolled, it is difficult in the resting state, it is difficult to maintain the hands. The hand flexors, they will cause the flexion, and when the person try to correct this flexion, there will be extra extension. So this type of floppy movements we observe during the resting conditions. First, there is uncontrolled flexion and extension at the hand, and similarly, and along with that, there is pin rolling movement of the fingers also occurs, and this is because of unchecked or the overactivity of these reverberating circuits under the influence of unchecked acetylcholine in case of Parkinson's disease. Now, so these are three symptoms, that is, first is hypokinesia, then rigidity, that is lead pipe type of rigidity, and resting tremors. So, another features, so because of these cardinal features, the face in case of Parkinson's disease, the person's face, because of hypokinesia or akinesia, the face appears as a mask-like face. No expressionless mask-like face is presented by a patient of the Parkinson's disease. And there is very less blinking of the eyes because of akinesia. Now, and the gait of the patient, the posture of the person is a flexed one or a stooped posture like this, and the person, the person tries to walk, it's a very shuffling gait is there, very small and slow speed walking is there, and the person is trying to catch the center of the gravity of the earth, and that is, the person is trying to move towards the center of the gravity of the earth, and that is why it's a flexed posture, mask-like face, no movement of almost negligible blinking of the eyes, and gait becomes shuffling gait. So these are the features of Parkinson's disease, and these are the features of if there is damage of the substantia nigra pars compacta region, then these are the features. Now, if suppose as I had told you, the one disorder of basal ganglia is a hypokinesia producing disorder. The another disorder is another type of abnormality which can be produced. It is hyperkinesia. Now, hyperkinesia, how this hyperkinesia takes place? Now, in case of hyperkinesia, only the indirect pathway is involved. In case of hyperkinesia, the defect in the indirect pathway is involved. In that case, the GABAergic neurons, the GABAergic and the acetylcholinergic neurons, they are destroyed in the region of striatum. If suppose these GABAergic neurons, they are destroyed, now what will happen in the indirect pathway? There will be less GABA in the globus pallidus externus. If this less is there, these GABAergic fibers to the subthalamus, they will fire less, and there will be less of this then these glutaminergic fibers in the subthalamic region, they will fire more of the glutamate will be there, and there will be these GABAergic neurons. These GABAergic neurons, they will fire more, and if more GABA is there, this pathway, these glutaminergic neuron, thalamocortical glutaminergic neurons, they will be inhibited. These will be so these GABAergic neurons, they will fire, and this pathway, it will be this glutaminergic pathway, it will be inhibited, and these GABAergic neurons will fire less, and this thalamocortical fibers, they will fire more. So this is also this pathway also fires more. There will be more of the stimulation of the cortex if these GABAergic neurons in the striatal area, they are damaged. If these GABAergic neurons, they are damaged in the striatal portion, then this pathway, it fires more. This indirect pathway also fires more. If this also fires more, then there will be more stimulation of the motor cortex. Now, if there is more stimulation of the motor cortex, then what will happen? It will produce hyperkinesia. There will be hyperkinesia or dyskinesia will be produced. Now, if these dyskinesia or hyperkinesia, the hyperkinetic movements are of various type, and the first type is chorea. It could be of chorea. Now, what is chorea? In case of chorea is purposeless, involuntary movements, jerky movements of the limbs, and these jerky movements like this way and that is the whole mostly we observe in the upper limb, but they are also present in the lower limb. The chorea, in case the chorea is a purposeless jerky movements of the limbs which occur, and that chorea occurs due to the damage of cholinergic these GABAergic neurons in the caudate nucleus region. Mainly in the caudate nucleus region, if these GABAergic neurons, they are damaged, and these cholinergic neurons, they are damaged, then the type of movements which are produced, they are the chorea. The chorea can be Huntington's chorea. What is Huntington's chorea? The Huntington's chorea, it's a autosomal dominant genetic disorder, in that case, usually the movements, they are, it's a progressive type of disorder, and the choreiform movements, they continued all throughout the life. It pass on into the generation, and as it pass on in the next generation, the disease become more serious. Now, the second type of this chorea we observe, it is a Sydenham's chorea. Sydenham's chorea, it is observed in case of rheumatic fever. This Sydenham's chorea, it's a temporary type of involuntary movements which we observe in the rheumatic fever patient. If the patient is of young patient, usually we observe in a young, less than 20 years age of patient. If the age of the patient is less than 20 years, we observe this type of chorea in a patient of rheumatic fever. Now, and the third type, it is also observed in case of Wilson's disease. In case of Wilson's disease, there is copper deposition which occur in the lentiform nucleus and this liver, and that is why this Wilson's disease is also known as the hepatolenticular disease. In these three diseases, the type of movement the involuntary movements we observe in the patient, it is the choreiform movement or the chorea we observe in these three types of diseases, that is Huntington's chorea, then rheumatic fever, that is the Sydenham's chorea, and then the Wilson's disease, which is the copper deposition which occurs in there and causes a permanent damage of the lenticular nucleus, and that causes the production of these involuntary jerky movements of the upper limb as well as the lower limb. Now, the another type of movements which are produced, that is the athetosis. This athetosis, they are the slow dancing movements of the hands. The slow dancing movements of the rhythmic movements of the hands, that is the athetosis. This is, if these, sometimes the chorea and athetosis, they are present together, and then we call it choreoathetosis. And these movements, the movements are the dancing type of movements. These are involuntary movements, involuntary, slow, rhythmic, dancing movements are present in case of athetosis. Now, and in case of chorea, it's a slow dancing movements and in athetosis, whereas the jerky, like break dance type of movements are present in case of chorea. Now, the third type of this hyperkinetic disorder, it is dystonia. That is known as dystonia. In case of dystonia, what happens? The axial group of muscles, the tone of the axial group of muscles, it is very much increased, and axial group as well as in the neck region type, in this portion of the body, the tone of the muscle is very much increased, and because of that, the posture, there will be a increase. The neck can be, it could be a torticollis type of presentation may be there, that is the neck is bent to one side, or there will be hyper extension of the thoracic region because of increased tone of this axial group of muscles in case of dystonia. Now, the next disorder, hyperkinetic disorder, is bellism or hemibellismus. In case of, what is that bellism or hemibellismus? Bellism, if there is lesion of this subthalamic nucleus, lesion could be because of diabetes or hypertension. The blood supply to this region is hampered, and there occurs infarcted lesion of this the subthalamic nucleus. Then this manifests as bellism or hemibellism. What bellismus? What is this hemibellism? What happens in that case? There will be mainly this subthalamic nucleus, it controls the movement of shoulder girdle and the pelvic girdle. Now, if this area is damaged, that is the subthalamic nucleus is damaged, the control of the shoulder girdle and the pelvic girdle, it's not there. Now, what happens in case of this, if the subthalamic nucleus of left side is damaged, the manifestation will be on the right side. And if the other way happens, if the subthalamic nucleus of the right side is damaged, then the left side will show the valiscmus. Or if both the subthalamic nuclei are damaged, then we observe valismus. That is known as valism. The involuntary movements, involuntary jerky movements of shoulder girdle and this pelvic girdle we observe in case of valism or hemivalism. It is usually the contralateral subthalamic nucleus is damaged in case of hemivalism. Now, the next is your tardive dyskinesia. Tardive dyskinesia. Now, what is this tardive dyskinesia? Sorry. Some of the patients, it is observed in the patients who are taking antipsychotic drugs. These antipsychotic drugs, most of them, if they are blocking these dopamine receptors, if antipsychotic drugs, they are blocking these dopamine receptors, now what happens? Because of the blockage of these dopamine receptor, after some time, there occurs the upregulation of these dopamine receptors. Because of this upregulation, what happens? The balance between this cholinergic and the dopamine, it is disturbed. And in case of striatal area, this happens in case of striatal area. And because of this imbalance, the facial muscles, especially the orofacial muscles, they show the involuntary movements are observed in the orofacial area. There will be flying of tongue. The tongue will come out without any control. There is movement of the lips is there. The movement of the various facial muscles is there. And that is orofacial, involuntary movements of the orofacial muscles are observed if the psychotic patient takes the medicine for longer duration and if that medicine, it is blocking the dopaminergic, these receptors, D1, D2 receptors, they are blocked. So, these type of movements of the uncontrolled involuntary movements of the orofacial muscles, they are known as tardive dyskinesia. So, the hyperkinetic movements, I'll just repeat, the hyperkinetic movements, they are of various types. One is chorea, athetosis, dystonia, then there is tardive hemivalismus or valism, or then it is another type that is tardive dyskinesia. The chorea can be it occurs in case of Huntington's disease, and then Sydenham's chorea, which is a temporary chorea which occurs in case of rheumatic fever, and then in case of Wilson's disease because of degeneration of the lenticular nucleus, the choriform movements we observe. So, if there is damage to basal ganglia, there are two types of disorders they are produced. One is the hypokinetic and another is hyperkinetic. Okay? Hypokinetic, the example of hypokinetic is Parkinson's disease, and we have discussed, and I have told you all the features of Parkinson's disease, and that occurs if mainly this direct pathway is inhibited. That if the direct pathway is inhibited, this dopaminergic neurons, they are destroyed, there will be hypokinesia, rigidity and tremors. These are the three cardinal features of Parkinson's disease or the Parkinson's in case of Parkinson's disease. And the other if there is mainly if there is damage to this indirect pathway, there will be hyperkinesia will be produced, and the hyperkinesia manifest in the form of chorea, athetosis, dystonia, then balismus or hemibalismus, and then tardive dyskinesia. So that is all about the disorders of basal ganglia. Thank you very much.